School bully thinks he's untouchable until quiet girl uses her genius to send him to jail. An inspiring story by Heartfelt Tales. The scream that echoed through Jefferson High's girls' locker room on that October evening would haunt everyone who heard it. But what happened next would prove that sometimes the quietest voices carry the most devastating truths. Maya Chen had always been invisible. At 17, she moved through the hallways of Jefferson High like a ghost, her oversized sweaters and downcast eyes serving as shields against a world that seemed determined to overlook her. She preferred the company of books to people, finding solace in equations and algorithms rather than the complicated social dynamics that govern teenage life. If you're enjoying this story of courage and justice, please hit that like button and let us know in the comments what you think will happen next. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring stories that touch the heart. It was the night of the regional football tournament, and the school buzzed with excitement. While her classmates painted their faces in school colors and screamed from the bleachers, Maya volunteered to help the drama club organize costumes in the adjacent building. She had always found peace in the quiet spaces while chaos reigned elsewhere. Marcus Wellington ruled Jefferson High with the kind of casual cruelty that came from knowing his father donated enough money to have a wing named after their family. At 6'3" with perfectly styled hair and a smile that charmed teachers and terrified underclassmen, Marcus had never met a boundary he couldn't cross or a consequence he couldn't escape. Maya had been Marcus's favorite target since freshman year. It started small, knocking books from her hands, making cruel comments about her appearance, ensuring she always sat alone at lunch. But as they entered senior year, his attention had become more persistent, more invasive. He would corner her after classes, making inappropriate comments about her body, following her to her locker, creating an atmosphere of constant fear and humiliation. That Friday night, as the crowd roared in the distance, Maya finished organizing the costume racks and headed toward the girls' changing room to collect her things. The building was supposed to be empty, the cleaning staff not due for another hour. She pushed open the heavy door, her footsteps echoing in the tiled space. She never saw Marcus coming. Well, look what we have here," his voice cut through the silence like broken glass. Maya spun around, her heart hammering against her ribs as she saw Marcus blocking the only exit, his phone held deliberately in his hand. "The little mouse all alone," he continued, his eyes scanning her with predatory intent. "You know, Maya, you can't hide behind those baggy clothes forever. Please just leave me alone," Maya whispered, backing against the lockers, her voice barely audible above the distant cheers from the football field. Marcus stepped closer, his presence overwhelming in the confined space. "You think you're too good for everyone, don't you? Always acting like you're so smart, so superior. Well, let me tell you something, nobody cares about your stupid grades." What happened next would be seared into Maya's memory forever. Marcus began hurling the most degrading, humiliating words at her, commenting on her body, her appearance, her worth as a human being. He circled her like a predator, his voice growing louder and more vicious with each passing moment. But Marcus had made a critical error. In his arrogance, he had forgotten about the small device Maya always wore on her collar, a digital recorder she used for taking voice notes about her various academic projects. A device that was, at that very moment, capturing every cruel word, every threat, every moment of his calculated psychological torture. "You're nothing, Maya Chen," Marcus snarled, moving so close she could feel his breath on her face. "A pathetic little nobody who will never amount to anything. And if you ever tell anyone about our little conversations, who do you think they'll believe? The son of the school's biggest donor, or some weird little freak who can't even look people in the eye?" Maya's voice, when it finally came, was steady despite her terror. "You're wrong about one thing, Marcus." He paused, surprised by her response. "I'm not pathetic," she said quietly. "And I'm definitely not stupid." Marcus laughed, a harsh sound that bounced off the tiled walls. "Oh really? Enlighten me, genius." Maya's hand moved slowly to the small recorder on her collar. With a soft click, she ended the recording that had captured the last 15 minutes of his abuse. I just proved that intelligence beats cruelty every single time. The color drained from Marcus's face as he realized what had happened. You recorded me. You can't do that. That's illegal. Actually, Maya said, her voice growing stronger with each word, this is a one-party consent state. I have every legal right to record conversations I'm part of. And what you just did? That's criminal harassment, intimidation, and creating a hostile environment. All felonies when they occur in an educational setting. Marcus lunged forward, trying to grab the device, but Maya was ready. She had spent months planning for this moment, knowing that eventually, his escalating behavior would cross a line that even his father's money couldn't uncross. She dodged his attempt and ran, her voice echoing behind her as she burst through the door. The recording is already uploaded to a secure cloud server, Marcus. Even if you destroyed this device, it wouldn't matter. Maya didn't stop running until she reached the principal's office, where she knew Mrs. Rodriguez would still be working despite the late hour. But she didn't stop there. Using the school's phone, she called 911, her voice calm and clear as she reported the incident. I need to report a crime, she said. I have audio evidence of criminal harassment and intimidation that occurred on school property. The next few hours passed in a blur. Police officers arrived, listened to the recording, and immediately issued a warrant for Marcus's arrest. The audio was crystal clear, capturing not just that night's incident but revealing a pattern of behavior that had been escalating for months. But Maya had been even more thorough than anyone realized. As the investigation unfolded, she presented a detailed log she had been keeping for over a year, dates, times, witnesses, and descriptions of every incident of harassment and intimidation. She had photographs of damaged property, screenshots of cruel social media posts, and testimony from other students who had been too afraid to speak up. I study human behavior the same way I study mathematics, Maya explained to the officers. I documented everything because I knew that someday, the pattern would be undeniable. Marcus was arrested at his family's estate the following morning. The charges were serious: criminal harassment, intimidation, stalking, and creating a hostile educational environment. His father's lawyers immediately went to work, but the evidence was overwhelming and the recording was damning. The news spread through Jefferson High like wildfire. Students who had watched Marcus terrorize others for years suddenly found their voices. More victims came forward, adding their stories to the growing case against him. The wall of silence that had protected him crumbled in the face of one quiet girl's courage. Maya returned to school the following Monday to find something she had never experienced before: respect. Students nodded to her in the hallways, some stopping to thank her for her bravery. Teachers looked at her with new eyes, seeing not just the shy girl in the back of the class, but a young woman with the intelligence and courage to stand up for herself and others. You know, her chemistry teacher, Mr. Peterson, said after class one day, what you did took more courage than anything I've ever seen in 30 years of teaching. Maya smiled, the first genuine smile many had ever seen from her. It wasn't courage, she said. It was just refusing to let someone else's cruelty define my worth. The trial took place 6 months later. Marcus's defense team tried every tactic they could think of, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recording was played in court, and the judge's face grew increasingly stern as Marcus's voice filled the courtroom with his venomous words. Maya testified with quiet dignity, her voice never wavering as she described the systematic campaign of harassment she had endured. When the defense attorney tried to attack her character, suggesting she had somehow provoked the abuse, she responded with devastating precision. Your Honor, Maya said, looking directly at the judge, I want to be clear about something. I did not provoke harassment by existing. I did not deserve cruelty because I'm quiet. And I certainly didn't ask to be terrorized because I prefer books to parties. What I did was refuse to be silenced by someone who thought my intelligence made me a target rather than a threat. The judge sentenced Marcus to 18 months in juvenile detention, followed by 2 years of community service and mandatory counseling. His family's donations couldn't buy his way out of the consequences of his actions. But the real victory wasn't in the courtroom. It was in the changes that rippled through Jefferson High in the months that followed. Maya had not just stood up for herself, she had shattered the culture of silence that had allowed bullies like Marcus to operate with impunity. She started a support group for students who had experienced harassment, teaching them about their rights and how to document incidents. She worked with the school administration to implement new policies and reporting systems. Most importantly, she showed other quiet, overlooked students that their voices mattered, that their intelligence was a superpower, not a weakness. At graduation, Maya was named valedictorian. As she stood at the podium, looking out at her classmates, she no longer saw the people who had once ignored her. She saw future leaders, innovators, and change-makers. For years ago, I thought invisibility was safety, she began, her voice carrying clearly across the silent auditorium. I thought that if I made myself small enough, if I stayed quiet enough, the world would pass me by without noticing. But I learned something important: silence in the face of injustice isn't safety, it's surrender. She paused, her eyes finding the faces of students who had found their own courage in the aftermath of her case. Intelligence isn't just about solving equations or memorizing facts. Real intelligence is knowing your worth, understanding your rights, and having the courage to stand up for both. It's recognizing that you don't have to accept cruelty as the price of existing in this world. The applause was thunderous, but Maya barely heard it. She was already thinking about her future: a full scholarship to MIT, plans to study computer science and digital rights, dreams of creating technology that would help other victims document and report abuse. As she left the stage, Maya realized that Marcus had been wrong about one crucial thing. She wasn't nobody. She never had been. She was exactly who she needed to be: intelligent, brave, and unbreakable. The girl who had once hidden in oversized sweaters now walked tall, her voice no longer a whisper but a clear, strong declaration that intelligence, when combined with courage, could indeed send injustice to its proper place, behind bars and forgotten. Maya's story became legend at Jefferson High, told and retold to incoming students as proof that the quiet ones are often the most dangerous opponents of all. Because while bullies rely on fear and intimidation, the intelligent rely on something far more powerful: the truth, carefully documented and impossible to deny. And in a world where the loudest voices often drown out the most important truths, sometimes it takes the quiet precision of a brilliant mind to ensure that justice is not just served, but remembered. If Maya's story moved you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever witnessed someone find their voice in the face of injustice? Share your own experiences of courage, no matter how small they might seem. Remember, every act of bravery, like Maya's, starts with a single person deciding they deserve better. Please show your support for more inspiring stories like this by hitting that like button, sharing this video with someone who needs to hear Maya's message, and subscribing to Heartfelt Tales. Your subscription helps us continue bringing you stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, proving that intelligence, courage, and determination can overcome even the darkest circumstances. Ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads, and remember, your story of standing up for what's right might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.